Only mode.
Okay. Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Project Leadership Year 3. My name's Allison Gray and I am hosting the webinar today in place of Pip Marks, who was unable to join us for this webinar. I will also be presenting the first portion of the webinar on project leadership. I'll first tell you a little bit about myself. This is my third year as Family Voices of California Project Leadership State Liaison. I was also the trainer of Project Leadership when the series was offered in San Francisco at Support for Families. I have a background in education, training, educational publishing, and became involved with Family Voices because I also have a child who has special health care needs. And like many parents, experienced extreme frustration navigating the systems and services that our family has had to use throughout the 8 years of our son's life. And that is how I became involved in project leadership. Just an overview of today's webinar. I will talk about project leadership, an overview of the past 2 years, and give information about this third year. I will be followed by the parent perspective on project leadership, and that will be Michelle Burns, Kershaw King, and Emmalin Kershaw, who will give their perspective and talk about their experience. There will be an opportunity to ask questions after each speaker, and then if there is any time left at the end, you will have an opportunity to ask general questions as well. We have a small group of attendees, so you are welcome to either type in a question and I can ask whichever speaker you're addressing, or you can ask me to unmute you and you will be able to speak directly to the presenters. So to begin with, I will go ahead and give the bios of our parents who will be on the webinar. Michelle Burns has spent her professional career conducting training, policy advocacy, and program development for nonprofit organizations dedicated to improving housing and services for low-income families and former foster youth. She has a master's in public policy from UC Berkeley and worked for Bridge Housing and the John Burton Foundation. She's the parent of a child with special health care needs and a graduate of Family Voices Project Leadership Program. And Michelle is also a member of the Family Advisory Council at UCS Benioff Children's Hospital, Oakland, and she'll tell you about other ways she has become involved in advocacy when it's her turn to present. The second parent is Kershaw King. She's Parent Health Liaison for Care Parent Network in Contra Costa County. She's the mother of 3 children. Her son, Christian, has a diagnosis of cerebral palsy and other medically fragile health care needs, which require her to collaborate with multiple healthcare systems. She has been a part of the Family Resource Center since 2003. She brings extensive knowledge of the healthcare system to the families she serves. Her understanding of the healthcare system is as a result of her personal experience. She provides direct services to families of children in the CCS system, where she assists families in overcoming barriers to the healthcare system. In addition to assisting families in accessing support and services that are essential to the care of their children, she also actively serves on many committees and projects throughout both Contra Costa and Alameda counties, and she will talk about some of these ways she is involved. She also has a Bachelor's of Science in Health Sciences. The next parent will be Emmalin Kershaw. Sorry, Emmalin. She is the proud mother to a blossoming young lady with multifaceted medical needs and is very familiar with the complex stressors and pleasures of being both a medical professional and mother to a medically fragile child. She's highly interested in bringing cultural awareness trainings as a supplemental tool for the medical field, further closing the divide between professionals and Latino parents. In her free time, she serves as a parent member for the Family Advisory Committee, CCS Families, and as a member of National Association of Hispanic Nurses, aiming to reinstate the San Francisco chapter. She enjoys impromptu soccer scrimmages, lively salsa dancing, and above all, just being a mother. She earned a BA in sociology, minor in Spanish from San Jose State University, and a Master's of Science in Nursing, clinical nurse leader from the University of San Francisco. And she'll also tell you more about how she's become involved in advocacy since graduating from project leadership. So now I will begin the portion of the webinar that gives an overview of project leadership. And I will start by talking about family voices briefly. Sorry, I'm advancing my slides. Oh, there we go. Okay, I like to start by sharing this quote by Margaret Mead: "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And I love this quote because I feel like it really does a good job of encompassing the overall goal of project leadership. And the pictures here show 3 of the groups of graduates over the past 2 years. I think most people in this group are familiar with with Family Voices of California, but just to remind you, we are a statewide collaborative of locally based parent-run centers working to ensure quality health care for children and youth with special health care needs. To tell you a little bit about how project leadership got started, in 2004, Family Voices of California received a grant from the Marguerite Casey Foundation to develop the curriculum. And since that time, it has been used as individual chapters around at different state conferences and at different Family Voices of California council member agencies. And then in 2013, Family Voices of California was awarded a grant from the Lucille Packard Foundation for Children's Health to implement a pilot training series in San Diego and San Francisco. The grant was renewed in 2014 and implemented in Alameda County, and we thank Lucille Packard Foundation again for a 3rd year of the project now in 2015. So the overall goal of project leadership is to increase the ability of families to advocate for the needs of children and youth with special health care needs, and to encourage more families to take on leadership roles. As most of you already know, families of children and youth with special health care needs have had significant real-world experiences that can help make healthcare policies and administration more family-centered and culturally competent. But we know that the problem is many lack the training and experience to make their voices heard. So this project was designed to, again, increase the capacity of families to be able to partner in the development and oversight of the services and systems and programs that we all use and that our children depend on. Okay, next slide. This slide shows the table of contents, and I won't go through it in detail. It is available on our website, but you can see how we start out with the history and purpose of advocacy, and then go into, in Chapter 2, focusing on systems, laws, and entitlements in California, helping parents understand how the different systems work, where they are, where they get their funding, and how those systems started. We move into working with decision makers, enhancing communication, presenting stories to others, and really Chapter 5 is really the heart of the training, where parents learn how to tell their story in an effective manner. And then towards the end of the training, we start looking in depth at different ways parents can participate once they graduate. And finally, the last session is dedicated to connecting with local change makers, and people are invited to come in and speak directly to the parents who will be graduating. Throughout the whole training course, and it is a 7-session training with some different options for scheduling, which I'll talk about later, but the overall message is really partnering with professionals and decision makers and building a parent network connection and mentoring connections. Recruitment for the trainings, these first 2 years, we focused on caregivers of children with special healthcare needs, disabilities, or mental health, behavioral health issues. We did a lot of outreach both in San Diego, San Francisco, and Alameda County to a wide variety of agencies and organizations and hospitals. This included family resource centers, support groups, local California Children's Services, and specialty care clinics. This wide outreach really allowed us to recruit a very diverse group of parents in terms of children's diagnoses, family structure, race, gender, languages, socioeconomic backgrounds, etc. Retention for the program, we, as built into the grant, had offered food, childcare, as well as stipends to the parents. We had a participation agreement, certificate of completion was awarded at the end, and we really worked hard to accommodate families. We know how challenging it is for parents of children with special health care needs to complete trainings because we're so busy taking care of our children and coordinating services, and this model really provides a lot of support. We try to make sure the meeting days and times are at a time when parents can attend, and we offer flexibility to make up missed session either in person or over the phone. In terms of structure and staffing, we have the 8 council member agencies who provide general oversight. The project director is Juno Duenas here at Support for Families in San Francisco. I am the statewide leadership liaison, and then host site has a trainer/mentor, and then it's great if host sites have additional support staff that can either attend the training and provide support or just be able to provide some support to the trainer mentor. To facilitate the trainings, the statewide leadership liaison, that's me, helps prepare the local trainer mentor with curriculum planning, with general technical assistance, recruitment strategies, and general support. The facilitation of the program, these are designed to be dynamic and interactive, giving participants the opportunities to learn with and from each other. And there is also a action plan that is a thread throughout the whole series. They begin working on it the first session and present it at the very last session. An action plan in terms of things that they would like to see changed in the systems that they use. And then there is ongoing completion of homework between sessions. There's a lot of mentoring and support offered in this training, which we also believe makes it a successful training. There is individual mentoring with the trainer mentor. There is the offering of monthly group mentoring. And then during year 2, we also developed an online advocacy community, another forum where graduates can interact and receive information from me as well as other trainers. And then there is, of course, the support from local family resource centers. With the trainings being held there, when individual issues come up, they have somewhere to go for that support. Another important piece of the trainings are the family databases and the family database and the opportunity database. These are both developed in the first year and are continuously updated. The family database includes the parents' areas of expertise and experience, what they're interested in getting involved in, and we also track their activities to see what kinds of things they're involved in. The opportunity database this is continuously being built up. We have opportunities around the state where parents can get involved, different committees, boards, groups that have representation for parents of children with special health care needs. And ultimately, the idea is that these two help us match parents to opportunities. And to our results. So in the first 2 years, we graduated 10 people in San Diego County, 20 graduates from San Francisco County, and we had 49 graduates from Alameda County last year. So far, we have graduates serving on healthcare and disability-related groups or other decision-making bodies. They have met with local and state policymakers. One way this happens is at the Family Voices of California Health Summit, both in 2014 and 2015. But there have been, parents who are also writing and calling, at other times, not just at the Health Summit. And then we've had parents provide public testimony at different committees at the state. Some of these are available on our website, actually, to see. It's pretty amazing. And we also have had several parents tell their stories to the media, which is also really exciting. Some examples of the committees and groups that parents have served on, and I won't go through this full list, but you can see that it really varies from CCS involvement right now with this redesign happening. We've had a lot of parents involved in different ways. Hospital advisory groups, Help Me Grow, different mental health groups and organizations. So there's a wide variety, and we're learning more about different opportunities every day and really try to help parents get matched up based on their interests and their experience. An external evaluation was done the first year of the training by Health Policy Consulting Group, and they did this using family empowerment scale surveys and interviews of participants both before and after the training, and then 2 months after the training as a follow-up. And these are some of the things that they found, and I'll just read through these quickly. Participants' confidence in their ability to advocate, their leadership skills, and their experience with advocacy showed significant improvement. Participants showed significant positive changes on measures of empowerment for accessing services for children. So even though this training is focused on systems advocacy, and really an inherent part of it is also understanding the system better, and through parent networks and support, also learning how to better access services for their own children. And participants felt better prepared to continue to advocate for their children and for systems change. Some lessons learned over these first 2 years. We got input from participants on the curriculum and have made some changes based on their feedback. The importance of flexible scheduling, childcare, and stipends to both enhance recruitment and retention. Long-term mentoring, facilitated peer support. This has proved very important for the success of the ongoing advocacy of the graduates. And then there's also the importance of a variety of means for communication, mentoring, and support. Not all parents have access to a computer, so they may not use the online advocacy community. It's important that we hold phone calls or in-person meetings to be able to accommodate them. And then educating others about the importance of family participation. That's one of our ongoing efforts, is to reach out to some agencies that may not be aware of the importance of having a parent join their group or committee and having that perspective and talking to them and trying to get more parent involvement. So in year 3, we are expanding the training. Our goal remains the same. We want to continue to build strong statewide learning community with mentoring and support that helps ensure family members of children with special health care needs are prepared to become advocates for healthcare policy and service improvements. We aim to continue around the state this year and are targeting more rural areas as well as Los Angeles, but all regions of California are encouraged. So one of the things we are offering this year is a Train the Trainers workshop, which will be offered here in San Francisco on October 14th and 15th at Support for Families. At this training, interested agencies are invited to send a representative. They will learn best practices for curriculum implementation, recruitment, retention, and mentorship. We'll explore budgeting and funding options, develop an action plan for training implementation. Those are the main points. A $500 stipend will be offered to offset costs of attending the training in San Francisco. To attend the Train the Trainers workshop, we are sending out a request for applications tomorrow, July 23rd. It'll be publicized through the Family Resource Center Network of California and other listservs. We will hold a conference call in 1 week at 11 o'clock on July 29th to be able to answer any questions or if any attendees of this webinar or others who received the RFA are interested in finding out more information. The applications will be due on August 21st, and then we'll make the selection of attendees on September 8th. And all of this will be in the request for applications, all of this information. In year 3, the other option for interested agencies in project leadership, in implementing the project leadership trainings, we're developing an implementation guideline that includes best practices, lessons learned related to recruitment, retention, and scheduling. So some agencies may feel that they're already set up and prepared to implement the training. For example, here at Support for Families, we are integrating it into our existing parent mentor program, and they're not going to attend the trainers, but they're going to use these guidelines to help them. There's also a menu of technical assistance options. We'll have an online group and scheduled conference calls with trainer mentors at host sites facilitated by me, problem solving with me via phone or email, and then there's also the option to have me visit in person for consultation on getting the training going. The mentoring this year, we are continuing the online advocacy community. We are holding monthly conference calls with the 79 graduates from around the state, and then we are planning an in-person meeting that will be around the same time as the Family Voices Health Summit in Sacramento this spring. Our database will continue to be updated, both databases. We will continue to gather feedback on the curriculum and make appropriate updates, and we're happy to announce that the curriculum is currently being translated into Spanish for the first time, and it will be presented in Spanish here at Support for Families starting in September. These are some alumni testimonies, and I'm not going to take the time to read through them because I would like the parents who are present here today to be able to talk about their experiences. But this webinar will be available on our website, so you can read them at your leisure later. And finally, for more in-depth information on the project, you're of course welcome to contact me, but also Lucille Packard Foundation published this report on the first 2 years of project leadership, and it is available on their website, and the link is provided here, but it's in their, you can find it in their programs and partnerships section of their website. So thank you all so much for attending today. My information is here, and again, I am happy to take questions now. And you are also welcome to ask more questions at the end. Does anybody have questions at this time? Okay, I don't see any questions at this time, so I am going to now turn this over to Michelle Burns, and I'll just remind you that you have the opportunity to ask questions after each presenter and at the very end. So, Michelle, I am going to turn it over to you if you would please unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm here. I'm just getting my PowerPoint set up. Great. So thanks, Allison. Thank you to everyone. Good afternoon. This is Michelle Burns, as Allison said, and I graduated from project leadership in February of 2014, and I'm the first of the parents that are going to share our perspective. So it's going to be me, and then Kershaw, and then Emmalin. I live in Alameda County, but I participated in the San Francisco project leadership, which I really appreciated. I have 2 children. I have a 7-year-old daughter who's typically developing, and I have a 5-year-old son who had a very complex medical history as an infant and young child, and continues to have some health issues that we'll need to monitor throughout his life. I was really thrilled to learn about project leadership because although I had a professional background in policy and advocacy, my only personal advocacy had really been on an individual basis. So as many of us talked about during project leadership, we all became experts at advocating on behalf of our children. So my husband and I really learned how to advocate to ensure that our son's medical needs were met. But I was really interested in learning more about how to apply this personal experience to more systems level advocacy work. The project leadership class really exceeded all of my expectations, which already were quite high. They were very content rich and very concrete in helping us to translate our personal experiences into advocacy and making sure that that advocacy would really make a difference at the systems level. So whether that was at a hospital or a local committee, through the school district, or at the state capitol. So all of those things were really helpful, but I also want to echo what Allison said in terms of project leadership being much more than a class. So it was, as Allison said, quite diverse in terms of the languages spoken at home, our socioeconomic status, race and ethnicity, our children's diagnoses and medical history, and how our families were structured. We also had several foster parents, and I think all of that diversity helped all of us to see the great complexity of raising a child with special health care needs, especially when other challenges are present, including poverty and the involvement of the child welfare system and language barriers. And it also, one of the things we talked about a lot was how it reminded us that we really are the ones who were fortunate enough to be able to get to these project leadership classes, who were able to know that these existed and make the commitment to participate once a week, where there are so many thousands of families in California that aren't able to participate because of how intense their day-to-day is. And who can't make it to the Family Voices of California Health Summit. And so part of our responsibility was trying to remember their voices when we were advocating. So when the class ended, all of us really left with a clear roadmap for how we wanted to continue our advocacy work in the broader community. So as Allison discussed, we had our work plans and our goals that we started at the beginning of the class, and then we would revise throughout, which I appreciated. And I was really connected with a number of great opportunities through project leadership, and Allison and Pip have really also provided great support and preparation and mentorship to help me be successful in that. And again, it's just so different. Even if you have experience doing advocacy, it's very different when it affects your family in terms of how to speak about it. So I thought I would just share some of the advocacy opportunities and speaking opportunities I've had since joining project leadership. So I joined the Family Advisory Council at UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital, Oakland, and felt very well prepared to participate in that, and then was able to also participate in these Kaizen weeks as a family partner, and that is something that Children's Oakland does now, is they make sure that they have family participation when they do these system improvement weeks. And I think that having the project leadership experience really helped gave me the confidence that my voice there was really important, even if I didn't have the clinical expertise, you know, around emergency room discharge, for example, but having the parent expertise was really, really important. I really appreciated being able to present a web seminar on feeding tubes, because that was one of the experiences that we had in our family, was managing a feeding tube at home for 4 years. And that was really helpful to me to be able to share that information along with a pediatric GI doctor, with families and with other providers. And then really appreciated being able to do being on the advisory council for the Family Voices of California Health Summit. So there were other speaking opportunities as well. Emmalin and I testified at the Senate Committee on Health. It was an informational hearing on how healthcare costs are really becoming burdensome for families, which I really appreciated, the fact that they were, number one, having that hearing, and that I felt prepared to be able to share that information there. And in general, I would say that all of these opportunities were really facilitated by project leadership, and as well as the preparation and the community connections and the mentorship that they have provided. And I thought I would end just showing these two pictures of my son. The one on the left shows him when he was a newborn and he was in the NICU. So he was full term, but as you can see, he had a feeding tube in his nose and was really struggling a lot medically. And then the picture on the right is him a few months ago. He just turned 5 and he learned how to ride a bike, and he's thriving as a 5-year-old, which I really appreciate. And I really also just want to say how much I appreciate the connections that I've made with the other parents at Project Leadership. They're really amazing, including Kershaw King, who is wonderful, and she, in addition to being a Project Leadership graduate, is a parent health liaison with the Care Parent Network in Contra Costa County. So I'll just turn it over to Kershaw.
I'm sorry, this is Allison. I'm going to interrupt just for one moment before Kershaw begins. We had one question from an attendee, and that was, is the train the trainer intended for parents only, or can organization administrators who support families attend? So I wanted to clarify that. Can you hear? Okay. And I'm sorry, the person also had asked to be unmuted, and for some reason I wasn't able to unmute you. My apologies. So the answer to that question, and I'm sorry that wasn't clear in the presentation, the Train the Trainers is intended for organization administrators or trainers. And during that, so one representative from your agency would be invited to come, and then go back to your agency, and then we would provide the support to implement the training there. I hope that answers your question. If you have a follow-up question to that, please go ahead and type it in, and I can answer that. And before we move to Kershaw, did anyone have a specific question for Michelle? Okay, so go ahead, Kershaw. I will go ahead and turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Kershaw King, and so I have been a parent liaison in Contra Costa County, Alameda and Contra Costa County for the past 13 years. My son is now 18 years old. So the first thoughts are, I've been advocating for quite some time, and why project leadership for me? you know, I didn't go into project leadership with the attitude of I've done this for quite some time, and that I know advocacy. This is not new to me. I went in with a student set of mind and learning, because as you all know, times change, and as a result of project leadership, going into this, it gave me a renewed sense of advocacy empowerment, and in attending this training allowed for the re-education of what it means to advocate, not only on behalf of my own child, but on behalf of other families and services in the community. And it allowed me to take what I already know and what I've learned and build a community of advocates in my area. And, you know, it just allowed me to gain a greater knowledge and understanding of the more current efforts and advocacy, especially as times change. And I believe that advocacy changes in the way in which we advocate. So as those times change, the way in which we advocate changes as well. Let's see. So I believe the benefits of project leadership was helping families understand the current legislation, policies, and systems, clarifying what individual advocacy is and what public policy advocacy is, and how to connect the two in a meaningful way. It definitely was an empowerment of families individually and as a community as a whole. It created an opportunity for families to support one another around advocacy, individual advocacy efforts. As a result of one of the things I'd really like to share as a result of project leadership is, for quite some time, I co-chair the Family Advisory Council at Children's Hospital Oakland. And for the past 4 years, we've been trying to get a position for more family-centered care within the hospital setting. It's been a struggle. It's been really difficult just to try to get the attention of the people in administration, and not giving up, because you can easily give up on things when you're feeling like your efforts aren't being heard. But as a result of taking project leadership, again, as I said, it gave me sort of that renewed sense of advocacy and not stopping. Of course, we know how to advocate individually for our own families and children, but when it becomes a bigger, a broader sense of advocacy, it can be quite scary, and you know, you get sort of you don't want to go against sort of what's in place, and might feel like you're not going to be heard, or that people are going to look at you in a way in which you are going against sort of the grain. But as a result of project leadership and how it helped me this past year, was we were able to get a position created, a family-centered care associate approved for this upcoming year, where we will have a parent in a position in the hospital promoting family-centered care, parent mentors, providing trainings to families. You know, so this is a success of what it meant to take this project leadership training for someone who, as I said, have advocated for 18 years since my son has been born. My son, has a very complex medical needs, and we are involved across every system there is, and so this is a way for us to really continue the work that we do individually, but also in the community. So this isn't just a personal thing, it's more of a community. To me, I feel like a community gain that we've accomplished here. So my personal goal is to train a community of family advocates in my community based on the training that I've received through project leadership, so that they can then train other families in the community in an effort to always have effective family advocacy in our community and throughout our state. Thank you, and I will pass it on to Emmalin. Unless there are questions, I can answer any questions you might have. If not, Emmalin Lacayo is next.
This is Allison. Can you hear me? Chiming in again. I wanted to just echo something Kershaw said at Care Parent Network in Contra Costa County. We are working with Kershaw and the directors there to hopefully be implementing the trainings there. And as she said, since she went through the training herself, she's already prepared and ready to go through it. So we would be working with them on funding options, budgeting options, and she would receive support from me in terms of best practices for implementation and recruitment and retention, as I had mentioned earlier. So we're working on that together and hoping to get that started this year. Okay, so I will now pass it on to Emmalin. And any questions for Kershaw before we do that? Okay, Emmalin.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My jitters have just gone up considering that now I'm up, so I apologize in advance if I go on tangents. But yeah, so my name is Emmalin. I'm a project leadership graduate from the San Francisco chapter, and yet I am a family who lives in Alameda County, and it was great when I came across project leadership. I was at a point in my life where I kind of was feeling lost and overwhelmed, not just because I was going through my master's for nursing, but also in terms of how to continue to raise a child with special healthcare needs, especially when they had informed us that she shouldn't have lived this long. And so I remember looking up information for a project that I had to do for school and came across the project leadership information for the meeting, and I remember talking to Allison, and it just fit. It clicked with what I was looking for at the time. Still really didn't know or understand what I was walking into, but it felt something that it kind of felt like a way it was going to empower me to help me express what I had bottled up for all these years. And by that, what I mean is we're a family that we had great care. The nurses, everybody at the medical, at Lucille Packard, that's where our daughter was held, was great. The issue was when we transferred from county to county and getting the services implemented. So we were one of the families, the West I put it, we were one of the families that fell through the cracks. So a lot of the services, a lot of the resources, a lot of the research came from my own ability of being able to read the language, knowing how to search for the information. And it gave us, both Dad and I, we both took the class, and it gave us insight as to, wait a second, if we knew how to find for all this, if we knew how to ask about all this information and knowing and not being afraid to hear the answer no, what about all these other families who don't speak the language? And so that's been our main goal in becoming a project leadership graduates, where we want to be the voice for families who aren't able to speak English, and more so we're a Spanish speaking family. So how can we help support other families, most importantly, who either are afraid to speak up because there are all these other factors that they're dealing with, but also that should not limit them from getting the services that their child needs in order to thrive. And so, as Allison mentioned in her PowerPoint, the incentives are great in terms of helping providing families an opportunity to step away from their everyday daily routine. and it gives parents the ability to feel important in terms of not being just a caregiver for a sick child, because in reality we are caregivers. We're doing this for our kiddos to help them live a better quality of life, but we want to feel important. And as many of you may know, we're families as well as resource centers were always fighting for us to be heard. Project leadership training was a way for us to be heard on a public policy level. And so it informed us how to better access services for children and youth with special health care needs, but it also gave us a voice in all communities. And the way I can express this is I've always wanted to be a nurse. I finally became a nurse, but also how can I help educate the medical field personnel on how to treat and listen to families in terms of what their child needs or how to best approach care for their child. And so another thing that I wanted to help to kind of chime in too was that although we moved from Santa Clara County to Alameda County, we didn't really know where our Family Resource Center was, nor what services or resources were available. So actually finding the Project Leadership Program kind of gave us insight as to what a Family Resource Center was and all the resources that were available to us. And not just a regular family, it was a family raising a child with special health care needs. And so it really gave us empowerment of understanding what our abilities was as a family to advocate. And advocate is a word that I want to say it's a little scary to say, but we want to be heard. How I mentioned earlier, I was at a point in my life where I was in grad school, but at the same time I kind of felt at a loss as to where should I go from here. We already had gone 0 to 3 for certain services, and now she was 3 to 5, but we still were struggling and finding all these services that would help her live a better quality of life because she was not supposed to live this long. And so it was a great opportunity. And to chime in how I said, Dad did this training with us. He did this training with me, and he was one of the few males in the program, but he also found his voice and how he can support his child as a special, how he can support his child, and it's not just reflective on just the mother being the sole caregiver. But I think that's it. I'm not too sure if anybody else has questions. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm kind of going to blank, so I'm going to stop there.
Okay. This is Allison again, and I am going to ask if anybody has any questions for either Michelle, Kershaw, Emmalin, or myself. We do have a little more time. I also want to thank Michelle, Kershaw, and Emmalin for taking the time to join us for this webinar and to talk about their experiences with the project and to explain what they have been doing since they graduated. Are there any questions for either myself or the parents? I don't see any questions. Okay, I want to remind you that we will be sending out the request for applications tomorrow, and we encourage you to, number one, apply, and number two, to forward the RFA to any agencies or organizations in your community who may be interested in implementing project leadership and attending the Train the Trainers workshop. And again, there are the details are all in the request for applications itself. Any questions about the request for application or the Train the Trainers workshop? Okay. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. I want to thank everybody again for joining us today. Final comments as a follow-up to this webinar, you will receive a survey by email. We ask that you take the time to complete the survey. And if you are not already on the Family Voices of California listserv, you are invited to go to our website and sign up there. Thank you again for joining our webinar today. And if you have any follow-up questions about project leadership or the request for applications or the Train the Trainers workshop, or you are interested in contacting any of the parents, please feel free to contact me. I'm agray at familyvoicesofca.org, and this webinar will be made available on the Family Voices of California website. Thank you all so much again for attending today.